What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Moto Fever Media video. So I've been seeing a lot of talk on social media, on my videos, on other people's videos, and just in general regarding the 250 East Coast start where half the field went down and whether or not it should have been red flagged. So the people are pretty divided on that, but it seems like in general people think that the race should have been stopped and restarted just due to the fact that half the field went down and the race was pretty much all screwed up from there. Now, I just want to dive into that and talk a little bit more about whether it should have or should not have been red flagged and why or why not it could have been. So with that being said, let's get into it. So the first thing I think we need to establish is why would a red flag be thrown? If you look a little bit deeper past just what people's opinions are, and you actually read the AMA Supercross rulebook, it does not explicitly say what the red flag will be thrown for. But what it does say is if you're found to intentionally crash or stop on the track in order to cause a red flag, then on a first offense you will be disqualified from the race, and on a second offense you will be fined as well as disqualified. So what we can draw from that is that a red flag would be thrown due to somebody crashing and or stopping on the track. But really that's the only context given in the rule book as to why the red flag may be thrown. Other than that, it's just what will happen, what's the protocol. That leaves us to look to the past and why the red flags were thrown in those situations in order to determine whether or not it would have been reasonable to throw the red flag in this situation. Now, I have seen a lot of people saying that they've thrown red flags in the past for much less, which I can understand that argument in one sense, because if you look to the Motocross Championship last year where they red flagged the race due to a few people getting caught in the start gate, you could say, well, that was only affecting a few people and they restarted that race. But I think you're missing the context of that was an unfair situation where the gate didn't drop evenly for everybody, where this was strictly a racing incident where riders tangled up and got caught up with each other and ended up on the ground. Now, obviously, there was a lot of guys on the ground, so there also becomes a safety concern as far as, are these guys okay? Can they get out of the way? What's going on? There is an argument, I think, that you could make where, hey, there's all these bikes scattered, everyone's laid out. There's no way on this little 40-second a lap track that we're going to be able to get this mopped up in time, just red flag it. I do think that you could make that argument. However, everyone pretty much got up right away. There was only 4 riders that were still on the ground when they came around for the first lap, which was Vial, who was still getting his stuff together. And then you had Hammaker and McAdoo trying to untangle their bikes. And then, of course, you had Evan Ferry laid out on the side of the track, unconscious. So definitely there is an argument as to, hey, there's guys in the middle of the track with their bikes laid and this ball of bike. You got McAdoo with his wardrobe malfunction just kind of dangling out there in the middle of the track. And, I do think there is an argument that, hey, this isn't safe, red flag the race. However, Vial was remounting his bike. He was getting his stuff under control. And both the Pro Circuit boys were on their feet and aware of their surroundings. There was no jumps around. There was a clear line of sight. The flaggers were in position. Everything was relatively safe. The only person who was vulnerable was Evan Ferry, who was off on the side of the track and really pretty far out of the way because they were, going through that sweeping turn there. There wasn't a jump lane where they could possibly get off rhythm and shoot off the side of the track. So all things considered, it was a relatively well-controlled situation. Now, as I said, since it's not clearly laid out in the rule book, we got to just kind of look at the past and use that to help us draw a conclusion as to why a red flag might be thrown. So you guys might say, well, they've thrown red flags in the past for less, but I would like to see what that looks like, because if you look even at the Dean Wilson incident a few years back when he was on the Husky team and he was going through the whoops, got kicked sideways in the middle of the whoop section and ended up flying off the side of the track and hitting a pillar, and then he took a foot peg to the butt. And basically, I don't know if you guys knew or even remember the extent of that, but he had literally a 10-inch deep hole in his butt. It hit an artery, and he was bleeding all over the place. He was bent over a tough block while they were trying to triage him in the middle of the track, in the middle of the race, in between 2 lanes of racing. And the man was literally bleeding out, and they did not red flag that race. They got him up. He was triaged. And there's still 5 minutes. There's over 5 minutes in the race left. And they pretty much told him, hey, Dino, just hang in there. There's 5 minutes left. And they just had him stand there bleeding all over the track. Now that there was a lot of concern as to why there wasn't a red flag thrown, and to be honest with you, I don't see why they wouldn't have, but I do know they didn't, because in that situation, the race would have been over, and it would have been kind of controversial as far as there was a lot of racing left, and it would have been upsetting for everyone to see it end like that when there was a lot of racing left. So they just ran it, and oh well, sorry Dino, you're just going to have to get a blood transfusion. So I do understand the concern as far as, hey, Evan Ferry's unconscious on the side of the track. That's not safe. Well, I'm not saying it is, but he was on the exterior side of the track where they could access him, get him on a mule, get him out of there. And in the past, they've had guys in the middle of the track and just left him there and kept the race running. So all I'm saying is the AMA is not doing anything they haven't done before. And to be honest with you, I don't think the race needed to be red flagged, because if you turn the tables and say the race was red flagged, we'd be talking about, man, poor Faulkner, he finally gets things to go his way, and then right after that, it gets stripped away again. That guy can't catch a break, and we'd be having a whole different conversation. So I do think they made the right decision. I think it is a tough call to throw a red flag in general, but in this case, I think they made the right decision. Everyone was safe, and I think it all worked out just fine. So with that being said, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. Definitely let me know down in the comments what you think. If you think I missed something, or if you have a different point of view, I'd love to hear it. But with that being said, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.